Good evening. It is that time again. It is Monday night, and it's my random journal Hookum. Monday night, let's get inspired. Where I might have been in the past and where I am in the present, and if I remember what was going on during those times. So this is always exciting for me, but also brings up a little trepidation and nervousness of I don't know what's going to come through, what it is that I'm going to glean and how that's going to affect those of you out there. So I'm really excited because today has been an amazing day, as it always is. I've gotten a lot of good things done over the past few days. I was delayed starting up because I was finishing up the last of my kimchi batch. So if you didn't see my culturing video the other night, you might want to scroll back through and rewatch because I added all the goodies and I had to put it in a much larger bowl. So I have several books that I just randomly grabbed to go through, and we'll see. We'll see if this inspires anyone, and we'll see what comes up for all of us. Because we've had a lot of stuff kind of coming to surface, and we have a lot of planetary energies and things that are happening around the globe. But as a whole, because we are one and we're all connected, what affects me affects you on some level, and what affects you affects me on some level. We all are the ocean. There is no drop in the ocean. We are just all part of the energetic waves, right? So the fluidity is that the emotions and the motions and the vibrations and the energy, they flow through me, they flow through you, just like the prana, the breath, the life force. When I breathe in, I'm breathing in what you have already exhaled, and what you inhale is what I have already exhaled. At some point, we are so divinely connected, you can no longer deny that at some point we do touch one another in some way, shape, or form. Even those of us who never see one another in the physical form. So I invite you all to sit down, make sure you have yourself some water to hydrate with, because of course hydration is key, and we have to keep these bodies hydrated. So I have my water. I'm going to just take a quick sip, and then I'm going to share my little goodie is off to the side, because I have to have something to drink that's not just the water. So if anybody out there has been watching me before, every Monday night I do this. This is the one thing I have to tell you that I look forward to, one of the most things to share with all of y'all, because it's just as much for me as it is for all of you. And sharing is caring, so you never know whose life you're going to touch, and hit that share button, inspire someone, share some of what you are also inspired by, right? We inspire through inspired living. So tonight, in my love glass, my love mug, right? It's all about the love, spreading the love. What inspires you today? Have you all been thinking about it? Have you all been acting upon it? What has motivated you? Did y'all get your walks on? It's like Kool-Aid, baby. It tastes like Kool-Aid, but better. It's all love in a mug. Really, love, but in the mug too. So, while I'm drinking and sipping on my kombucha and sharing these beautiful journal entries, I hope that you're all making yourself comfortable. Pull out a pen and paper. You never know what will come through for you and what comes up for you. So you're all gonna laugh, because first off, I have a couple things that I was just flipping through my journal. I haven't exactly chosen a paper, but a particular date or anything like that. So this particular piece of paper was from 2013. And I don't know, I do this, I have little pieces of paper with all sorts of notes. Y'all can laugh at this. I don't know if you can see this. This was from as you can see, it's from State Farm. It was the envelope. I just grabbed the first piece of paper, and what came through I was writing. Because that's what happens with me. back before we could write notes on our cell phones, I would just reach for the first piece of paper that came. Sometimes I would transfer it in to an actual journal entry, and sometimes I would just keep the paper just tucked into my journal because it was already written down, and why write it again? Why waste more paper? So on the 30th of May in 2013, right? So now we're looking at 4.5 years ago. Enjoy the journey. Respect where you are now, in this moment. Honor yourself, mind, body, and spirit. Ah, yes. Tight, sore hip flexors. To thyself be true. That is something that for me, in my own physical body, I became much more aware of because that's what came through. And this is what happens with tapping into your body's wisdom. In my experience, I've found that the more I sit with the discomfort that arises in my physical body, I can actually find a lot of the source of what that is. I actually receive this divine message that drops in during my meditation, because every morning, every day, I have some form of a meditation practice. Meditation is single-minded focus. And so really, truly, anything could be a meditation for you. But you have to recognize whether or not what you do is a distraction or it brings you into the single-mindedness of being in the moment, being present with the breath and the thoughts and the awareness of what's passing through. Because that's when you're going to glean the most insight into who you are. So yes, respecting where you are in the moment, which means drop the hypercritical, self-negating words. Be kind. Start within, the compassion within. Honoring yourself, mind, body, and soul, because it isn't just one or the other. It is all connected. It's what makes the whole, right? And yes, for me, a lot of my emotions, and something I've learned and been told, that we store a lot of emotions in our hips and our hip flexors, right? That our emotional center is really in our stomach. So for many of us, we may get discomfort, the butterflies. So when emotions go from one direction or another, whether it's emotions that are excited or emotions that are very anxious, upset, angry, it all kind of starts here, right? And when you actually find yourself tightening up your jaw, and I'm a jaw clencher, hence why I also have a bite, which is why I also have a mouth guard when I sleep at night, because I know I grind my teeth, and I never thought about it, never considered it. And it really wasn't until back when I was living in Italy and went to the UK that I caught myself. I was actually getting vertigo going to sleep at night. This was 2008 or 9, let's see. I was between jobs. I had just changed. Oh no, it was even further back. It was 2005, 2006. 2005, I had gone over to, and I also have TMJ, as a result of the military taking out all 4 of my wisdom teeth, which didn't necessarily need to be done, but I had a flauta, a piece of a flauta, which is, those tacos that are basically dipped. I had gone out for one of my favorite foods, chicken flautas, down at this beautiful restaurant in Omaha, Nebraska called Michael's. It was one of the best chicken flautas I ever had. They also had the fried ice cream. That was the bomb too. Oh gosh, that's a great memory. So anyway, because of this being stuck, and I woke up the next morning and I couldn't even clamp my mouth down. It was so swollen back there. A piece of the actual taco got stuck in the back gum because my wisdom teeth were pushing through. So they decided, oh, you need to have your wisdom teeth pulled. Well, I was a little naive, and I just assumed that was a normal thing to happen. And they went in, and I'll never forget, I woke up during that. First, they put me out, and I was laughing. They give you the gas, and it was like, and I was out. But I heard them crunching, breaking teeth. I remember those sounds and sensations. And I didn't know that the popping was not normal either. Because I understood from other people, they made it sound like TMJ was when you opened your mouth and you couldn't close it because it got stuck. And yeah, I don't know. So I had misinformation and they never asked me. So anyway, going back, so I found out when I was in the UK for work, I ended up going to an osteopath. And that's when I learned about the grinding of my teeth and how it was causing the tension in my throat, which was also causing the vertebrae in my cervical spine to clamp down and compress against one another. And each vertebrae compressing against one another was also causing the tightening and the pinching off of the nerves, and also all of that vertigo. So it was totally offsetting my imbalance, my balance, right? My equilibrium. I literally was laying in bed, felt like I was going to be sick. The room was spinning. I'd never felt that before. And I experienced that like 3 times while I was in the UK and I was there for work. So somebody gave me a recommendation. I went to the osteopath. It was one of the most exquisite experiences to have someone massage out all of these muscles. Something that back then they never even talked about osteopaths. We don't have osteopaths here in the US like they do abroad. But then it turns out, it's becoming more recognized. So that was one of my first indicators, and it came into my awareness that I did grind my teeth. But I didn't know about mouth bites until when I got my teeth redone. So yeah, quite fascinating stuff. So where was I going with that? Well, what I was saying is that when we clench our jaw, the hip flexors, it translates. There's certain areas of the body that also, like when you clench your jaw, it travels down the spine and it ends up in your hips. And it's just like anything. The more you suppress an emotion, it physically lodges deeper within your body, your system, right? So, for example, I'm going to use this as a good example. If you've had your heart broken, let's say, or something has really just completely shut your heart down, it doesn't just happen in the frontal portion of your heart. And the deeper it goes, we are multidimensional beings. This physical body isn't in layers to the point of 3D, 2D. It goes deeper than that. It's multidimensional. So for me, what I've recognized, and I know Lucy was talking about this the other night, about how we get this tension between our shoulder blades, our wings, right? And interestingly enough, I just happened to pull through some of my other information over the years. See, I also have had a lot of tightening in between my shoulder blades. And as a result of that, I've been healing that area of my back. I've been like, ugh. And I get a lot of stiffness and tightness back there because I've been healing that aspect that's so deeply rooted in the very back of my heart. So like that back area. And I have put together a diagram explaining the chakras in different dimensional ways of seeing it. So for example, your left side is your feminine. For most people, it could be the opposite for some people. So I'm just speaking from a general perspective and what I've learned through my own physical body. And this is part of my Tapping into Your Body's Wisdom workshop that I put together. Your left side is the feminine aspect. It's the receiving aspect, right? So the left side of your body has a lot to do with the feminine. And the right side of the body has a lot to do with the masculine, the giving side, right? And if you pay attention to when you receive and when you give, same thing with the rings and the hands and the fingers. There's just so much I can go into. I'm just going to kind of touch upon a little bit. That a lot of times we don't even recognize that, the front of us is more masculine. The back of us is more feminine. The upper chakras are masculine. The lower chakras are feminine. You would think a lot of this was the other way around. You just thinking in terms of, for example, the heart. But it's all multidimensional again. So even still, when you start to slice it all out and see the interweavings of masculine and feminine energies, whether you're male or female, doesn't matter. We all embody both. That this balance that we're all striving to achieve, right? Aspiring to be in harmony with both, the interweavings of both aspects. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean you're 100% feminine, and just because you're a man doesn't make you 100% masculine. You are a being of unity. And it's just a matter of how much you're interwoven and in balance and harmony of it. And so, going back to this, even though you can splice it down and say this is the front, is the masculine, this is the back, this is the feminine, but the left and the right, and really boils down to this an overlap and interweaving across the board. So this multidimensional being that we are, the more you tap into your own body's wisdom, you start to see where the imbalances lie within you. And for myself, yes, I recognized, and that's what I wrote down, was that where I was feeling the tightness and the soreness in my hips was also about being true to my own self. And that's just one aspect. That's just a small little insight. And this was May of 2013. So I thought I'd share that. And going back to those angel wings that if you watch Lucy's video the other day, when I went through my initial Reiki training, which was, thank you very kindly for the beautiful words. When I went through my Reiki initiation, my master, my level 1, my level 2 master, whatever, I would start to feel those opening sensations of this other chakra that we have. And we have more than, the standard 7 to 9, however many we are aware of. We have all energy points throughout our entire body. There's 72,000 nadis, nerve endings within this body. So there's energy points throughout, and it's constant movement. It's the toroidal, like if you've ever seen how the toroidal energy moves, it's like this globe of energy going through the center and coming up and around and up and around and up and around. But guess what? It also comes in the opposite direction. And then it goes around. There is no right, there is no wrong. It's multidimensional. And to say that it comes and goes in a certain way is just labeling it. So it just is, right? It's fascinating. So going back to the angel wings, back then I was noticing an awakening and awareness of my physical sensations and becoming more in touch with and more in tune with what was coming up between my shoulder blades. And I knew that something was awakening, and I brought that up. And so when I first started doing Reiki, I'll never forget the Reiki master who initiated me. She initially looked at me after we did the first, Reiki. We did a Reiki session with a bunch of us, and she looked at me and she said, "So what did you see?" And I thought that was really sweet, because then she had immediately picked up on something I didn't share with a lot of people, is how visual I am and the things that I pick up. And so as a result, I felt it was a compliment, but it was also a sweet acknowledgement too. Because when someone can connect with you and they recognize something that you don't speak about often, that maybe you've suppressed, that when she asked me, "What did you see?" I was able to give her the vision, the gift that was meant for her. And so whenever I've given any type of attunement or a healing of that nature, which I don't go around talking about it very much, I gave her that special vision, and she just smiled, because I don't need to know what it was about. But it was sweet to know that what I gave her for a vision was something she knew she was meant to receive, and she received it well. And so we all have a special gift, and it's about embracing it, and whether or not we recognize it and own it and honor it and accept and appreciate it. Because again, where energy goes, where attention goes, energy flows. I'll always interchange those words, right? And I've just noticed in this past few days, I had been going through some of my own inner awareness and healing, and I can tell you that yesterday I started to feel a huge shift in my physical body in such a way that I was like, wow, I feel like I'm really feeling the lightness of being, and that a lot of my physical ailments and issues and pains they finally feel like they're truly lifting. Especially when you've dealt with chronic pain all of your life, to feel that sensation of lightness to feel the dripping off of the tightness, to feel free to move, right? The fluidity of your own physical body, that's a big deal, isn't it? And anybody who can relate out there, right? So today was my favorite day. I go to my chiropractor, and it was exciting. I swear, I wish I'd done a video on this. Y'all would have been laughing at it, because I said to him, I said, I know I was a ballerina in another life, because he uses kinesiology. And with kinesiology, they'll put you in a certain physical posture, and it's more about the energetic lines of your body, and then they test to see the strength of it. And if it's emotionally related, or if it's physically related, or, there's so many different aspects. And kinesiology is fascinating. I mean, you can do a lot of things with your own muscle testing, right? And so here I am in all these different wacky positions, and he's testing me, and I'm just laughing, and they're laughing, and I'm... But I express that, today was just a beautiful way to wake up, excited about life, and feeling the changes and the shifts in my body, that there wasn't a whole lot that was really going on wrong. There were just specific areas that I could tune into and recognize that they were moving and releasing finally. And a lot of it's because of, on a mental level, I have chosen to let go. I'm like, thank you. And I'm in this attitude of gratitude. And what inspires me is recognizing how divine everything in my life is, and that no matter how it may appear, it's all perfect. And it's what's meant to unfold. And in the perfection, in even what seems the chaos, there is perfection. When it seems difficult, when it appears to have an obstacle, I'm just being guided in a different way. And when I started shifting and seeing that back in 2009 and 10, I was like, wow. Just for example, I remember when I had an appointment, and then all of a sudden I was running out the door later than I anticipated. And as I drove to my appointment, I see a car accident, and I recognize there's always something guiding me, something always stepping back, keeping me from moving at a certain moment. An awareness that, wow, I can't get upset, I can't be anxious, and have that negative self-talk. I have to actually go, wow, thank you very much, because somehow something in that moment allowed me to avoid being a part of that moment, right? It's in the chaos we find ourselves, that it's whether we sit in it with calm or dis-ease, right? So when you reach inside of yourself and you bring in the calm, you breathe into even the chaos, you can be the light for those people who are really anxious and feeling like their lives are turned upside down, just by holding the space and being neutral and not having to take a side or swing on that pendulum. So this is the beauty of life, is we are here to serve one another. We're not here to enable or to partake in the chaos. Just be you. Just show up where you're at, and don't subscribe to the masses, because guess what? We got enough going on in our own lives. Yummy, yummy, yummy. So moving on. So this is always so fun. So let's see what I wrote on this. So this was all 2013. And this is appropriate because right now with Beyond Addiction, it talks about triggers or things that touch that sore point within you, right? And I just wrote some words. I said triggers equals evoke. So I put it an equal sign. Triggers. Evoke emotions linked to old memories, beliefs, behaviors, and patterns. Notice a person says some word and it triggers, it boils your blood, or a word, trigger, reminding you of an unhappy moment or a happy moment. At each situation, you are being called to remember and confront something. No good or bad. Attachment to belief creates the conditions triggering you. Let me say that again. Attachment to these beliefs creates the conditions triggering you. Release this and it will no longer pop up unless to test you if you have truly gotten it. All right. So I know that for myself, I recognize, for example, with my mother, sometimes when I have conversations and randomly one word will pop out of my mouth and it's something I never would say. It's not even a word I utilize very often. And the minute I say it, it's like, whoa, my mom goes off the handle. Like it totally, it throws her for a loop. It's a trigger, right? And so with my mother, she's a master manifester just like we all are. And I recognized, oh my gosh, my mom is actually somehow looking so much for these words. She's so easily triggered that she is like somehow looking for it, and I'm actually the one who's the catalyst. But the question is how she could utilize it unless she was aware. So, that's the tough part, is there's a lot of people looking for things to be confronted by that they claim they don't want to, or they're looking for arguments, and they're honed into those triggers. They're drawing in the triggers, just like I was years ago when I was trying to defend myself and I was finding myself drawing in attacks, right? So the more you're looking to defend yourself, you're going to basically put yourself in a defense mode, and you're going to find plenty of things to attack you as a result. So it's backwards, actually. So if you're defending yourself, then you're getting attacked. Don't you think you need to be attacked before you defend yourself? But that's how energy works. It shows up where you're at. So if you think you need to defend yourself, don't worry. You'll draw in plenty of attacks to create that momentum. But that's about the moment-to-moment experience. Being present in the moment and being aware of where you're at allows you to shift it. As soon as you're aware, that's the moment you've got to make a change, to choose it, right? So I just want to see what this is, because my mother has written me tons of cards. See, my mother still writes letters. She likes to write, and I love my mom's writing. Over the years, it's gotten a little bit less legible. That's psychological, too. So this is the kind of thing my mother would write me. And this was from 2013. And she writes, "Beloved." And on the top of this really pretty paper, there's a little quote. It says, "If only I may grow firmer, simpler, quieter, warmer." And this is written by Dag Hammarskjöld. And so my mother writes, "Lana, this is how I'll start. The desire of children to please and do, how well I know this to be true. I too. However, as you know, I left around 12 years old. Cognitively, now I know why. Then I didn't have the words or ability to express my need. I was not allowed. Many women older than I are only now starting to, as I am, because time is getting shorter for all of us. And most importantly, the truth, in all caps, does set one free. I remember your being the oldest is a pivotal position, caring for Lita first, even as you jumped for joy, and in your enthusiasm fell. And to this day she wears your 2 teeth marks on her forehead. I smile. These events occur. So when we were very young, I almost forgot about that until I read this. I don't remember what exactly happened, but I fell on top of my little sister. And I'm the oldest of 3 girls. And when I fell on her, I guess my 2 front teeth hit her forehead. And I didn't even remember this, but she has basically imprinted my little teeth on her forehead from when we were little girls. She writes, "Bring her for a walk, ha ha ha, in Dorchester. This is a belly laugh. Now, of course. However, distressed as I may have been, it was the most natural thing to do." It's scary out there. Adults today still forget the evil intents of those close and far. Still, it was the heart being and sharing. God knows this, and all intents. It's said a child is the parent's heart with feet. It's true, as was my fear of ever having children in this venue. I will go on as I so need to do, passing my memory and heart onto you. Bear with me as it's full from unaddressed pain. Be grateful I'm still the same. I'm still sane. My mother actually does write very beautiful poetry. She's very, very highly intuitive and very, very intelligent. As you can hear the words, and these are hers written. I am safe enough now where I am to breathe and attend to all that wished 2 years ago. Nonetheless, I am able now. I was always willing, open heart and table. Alone, alas, how many people sit and share anymore as a family I believe ought to? But then what is the meaning of family or friend? And that is how I plan to begin. Home is where our story starts, ... I'll add, this world is not my home. Kindness is so rare. Let me stop here and end with a verse for you to look up, Isaiah 13:12. I have need to know, have you know, ... me. Mama, she would write, M-A-M-A-H. Words cannot compress, and I would address. There will be a time for all hearts' relief, the bounds of eternity. Like Cyndi Lauper's True Colors and then some, exploding rainbows of joy, of which I know you're full of. Thank you, Lord. And so my mother, she has a lot of internal pain, and I pray daily for her and the rest of my family and all my loved ones. And I remember that my connection to what I've always felt is a strong connection to Source, to, for me, I grew up Catholic, but I have many beliefs, and I think they are all connected anyway. That my mother, she went to Catholic schools as a young child. And she came from an Irish Catholic family. She grew up in a very strict environment, but yet she did try to run away, as she expressed in the letter. And to watch my mom over the years in such animosity and pain was tough as a child, because if you've watched my previous videos, as a young child, I felt I had to grow up quickly to take care of my sisters and myself, to become the adult at 9-10 years old, when my parents didn't have the knowledge, the tools, the awareness of what was truly important because of their own traumas and their own past and pains. That even still, when my parents finally separated, and even though I didn't want them to, nobody wants their parents to divorce. Nobody wants to see that broken family because it's embarrassing, or maybe, in my case, I really felt like it reflected upon us as a whole because of the way society is. You're supposed to stay together as a family, and when your parents are divorced, that makes you look bad. Well, that's actually not the truth. It just was the perception and the conditioning that even I had adopted and felt, but it wasn't the reality of the situation. But looking back, watching my mother growing up, me growing up, and my mother never moving forward in life and being so stuck in the past that she herself was dissatisfied with life in general, that she could never truly live fully. And even to this day, I'm not sure how much of her life she's actually been able to be fully present for. See, when you're stuck in the past, it's like having handcuffs. It's like having shackles around your ankles. It's our own mental suffering, our own perpetuated situation. We can choose to let that stuff go, but we have to be willing to accept it and allow it to integrate into us being whole. That it's not a good or bad aspect. That nobody really intended to do what we feel they've done to us, but to embrace that they did the best they could in the capacity and the time. We can't say what should have been done when it's already past and done. What's in the past is just an experience. And so, for us to be present fully in this moment, we have to embrace every aspect, every experience that we've had as just a part of our path. It doesn't define who we are, ever, unless we choose it to. And that only thinking makes it so. So, and that's a heavy one for many people. In order to move forward, we also need to be present and not stuck behind. Because that fear of the past being repeated, the idea that we need to have the answers that aren't even of ourselves, because in my mom's case, I've watched her and recognized how so it seems, in my mind it's simple, but it wasn't easy for me to deal with a lot of my past pains. I had to sit with it and own them, but also honor and thank them, because they're all parts of what have brought me to where I am now and made me aware of who I am. Those experiences don't define us. They're just ways of guiding us through our life. And the more we hold on to them, the more we allow them to define us. But when we accept them as they were, just the experience, without blame, without trying to point fingers, and just it was. It's the beauty in life, is that we're just going to have lots of experiences. But to be present in the moment means not being attached to that or anticipating something else, right? That's the true peace, right, Jerry? Yeah. Juicy, isn't it? Juicy fruit, fruit punch, kombucha. So good. So here we go. All right, so I'm just going to pull something from December of last year, because that's what I pulled up in my other journal. It's very important to forgive. And forgiveness really, and in my mom's case, it's forgiveness with herself. And she claims to need answers from her family, and I get that. But that's the hurt in her child that she hasn't accepted and forgiven and allowed to come back to healing, to wholeness. And I get that. And I have a lot of compassion, because I understand. I do believe when we're children, we come in to help heal our family. We come in to help heal our parents. And even in the Indian culture and belief system, my understanding is that the whole idea of having children is that the child actually clears the karma for the family, for the entire ancestry line. So this is a funny thing to consider, but think about that. That's a lot of responsibility. But at the same time, it's like, how many people think, oh, I need to have a child so I don't have to do the work? But they give you the work because the child's a reflection to help you heal too. And a child will teach you more about yourself, just like any relationship, because that's what relationship it is. Everybody shows you up to mirror an aspect of yourself so that you yourself can become aware and present in your moments of, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. Am I here or am I here? It's all divine. It's all perfect. And so if I have trouble reading the comments, it's because all of a sudden my eyes are getting goopy. Could be all that spice I just had. So this is from the 2nd of December, and I've got a couple that I'm going to float through. So I was looking back on some relationships with people I had had that were pretty significant relationships, apparently on this day. And I started to say how I can see how impatient I was back then, because I wanted everything in immediate time. I wanted relationships to move quicker than they were meant to, and instead of being patient for people who were in my life, I decided to move on. And this actually has come up recently because I was thinking about reflecting back on some of my relationships and how there were incidences where I had confronted them with some things, and those people came back and they proceeded to shoot me down and say things that they didn't really mean. But later, when I decided, I have very strong will, a very strong mind, that when they said what they said, I just immediately in my mind shifted and said, okay, well, since they have decided that that's not what they want, then it's time for me to move on. And so therefore I choose to move on myself. And I was very easy for me to shut down. I wouldn't say I wasn't hurt, but I would shut down my ability to be open to what being said was even being the truth or not. So then I would actually choose, okay, fine, not interested, I'm moving on. I'm good. If it's not what I want, then I'm not going to stick around to find out if that, what they said was even true, because I took it for face value. Hope that wasn't too complicated sounding. But so, for example, if I didn't have things the way I wanted them to be, I moved on, is what I wrote. On the other hand, when I would approach with my desires, it was also painful. And it took a lot of strength and courage to even put myself in a situation that I decided that if I put myself out there and said this is what I wanted, and then I was rejected, because this was a big painful point for me, is rejection and abandonment from my childhood. And I spoke about this the other day too. That just speaking up, this is what I desired, this is what I would like, and to be told, well, I'm sorry that I can't do that. That's not who I am. That's not where I want to be. Made me realize that they clearly didn't care for me the way I needed to be cared for. But see, there was the failure to communicate back then too, because we don't know what somebody needs to feel safe, to feel secure, to feel supported, to feel respected, to feel appreciated. And so this is the key in relationship, is opening up that dialogue for all of us, and not to assume that, oh, well, you'll just figure it out what it is I need, and you'll just respond because, if you care about me, you'll figure it out. That is such a egoistic way of thinking. The idea that somebody should just know. You should just know. Nobody's going to know unless it's communicated. And nobody should assume, because we all know what assuming does, right? And so, moving on, I was also reading about how I had gone to this place that I like to go to where I get my bracelets. I've gotten a lot of my jewelry. All of this is actually from this place. And it's a local establishment. It's one of my sacred places to hang out. And I do believe in the golden rule wholeheartedly. I believe the golden rule technically isn't really a religious rule. I believe it's just a humane doctrine. If you do unto others as you want done unto yourself, that in itself, it's the same thing as saying showing up as you are, allowing people to, inspire through inspired living. If you show up as you are, you give others permission, you're doing unto others as you would want done unto you, just in that own action, right? So I was speaking with one of my girlfriends who sometimes pops in on here on Facebook, and she gave me a little angelic confirmation about a relationship I was kind of going through. In my mind, I had already decided to move forward, but my ego was so strong, wanting to overanalyze the situation and create a story around why it hadn't happened the way I felt it should, and want to know what the heck happened. See, my mind, it just can go into that crazy tailspin. But truly, I'd already decided a while back, and her confirmation empowered me more just hearing what she had to say that day. So I sometimes, or in the past, I don't feel this way as much now. Sometimes feeling that someone can confirm or validate you in what you are already sensing in yourself, it helps you to move on, right? So I loved her feedback on my thoracic, because and this is where the angel wings came back up again last year. She said that the thoracic back, that area between my shoulder blades, right, where the angel wings are, was my wings, freedom, being stuck. and restricted, not quite clipped, but impaired. She told me to imagine them spreading out wide, and also to call and communicate more with the angels, asking for clear guidance and being receptive to doing those different things differently, listening and responding. And so for myself, that's a big deal. And you don't have to believe in angels, and you don't have to believe in having guides or spirits or any of that stuff. But if you can imagine yourself, like I was speaking earlier today about being the butterfly and allowing yourself to spread your wings, open your heart, right? Your heart's not just here. Your heart is over here. It's back here, and it's over here. It's this whole area. And the more you actually open it, it becomes the whole part of you, because again, it's this all integration of all parts of you. The wholeness, the integration, not the healing as much, but the allowing all aspects of you to become one within. To embrace yourself with all your pains, all your happy joys and discomforts. All of it is you, as a soul, as a being, a human being. You just came here to have this human experience, but we're all ultimately this spiritual being, the soul. And so, angel wings, people, you're all spreading your wings. The question is whether or not you're embracing it, or you're still so stuck in your chrysalis you're afraid to emerge, right? See if you can build up that courage and that strength to press through, right? To build up that momentum so that when you do come through, you have that strength to soar, to flap those wings strongly and let them take you and guide you to where it is you're meant to be, meant to go, right? Constantly, divinely dancing with the energies, flowing with grace and ease. So we're going to move on to a book. I got this book years ago when I was stationed in Belgium. I went into this was in a military bookshop when I was in Belgium, and I just absolutely loved it. And I would just open it up, and inevitably it would just give me exactly what I needed to read. And I just love the way the old paper is and everything. And it was very helpful during those times. Iyanla Vanzant, for example, I read her book In the Meantime, which was really powerful during the time that I read it. My mother got me turned on to Iyanla Vanzant. In the Meantime, for anybody out there who hasn't read it, or if you have, it's a beautiful book. I mean, especially back when when I read it, it was perfect to recognize I was going through a lot of relationships that I had to recognize they were just in the meantime relationships. They weren't they were meant to serve me. They weren't meant to be there for me. There are times when relationships are coming through, intimate relationships, any relationship, to serve you, to grow, and prepare you for the right ones. Without them, you couldn't find the right ones, or find yourself, because that's the right one. And that's really what it always brings you back to, is the relationship with self. Relationship with others is a result of the relationship with yourself. The more deeply connected, intimacy, into me I see, intimate with yourself you are, the more you will actually have the most meaningful, embracing, sensual, sexual, whatever you want it to be. It's going to be whatever it is in you. Life shows up to you as you are, right? And so the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So if you are really nurturing and harnessing the self-love for yourself, that's exactly what's going to show up for you. And you'll be able to reciprocate it the more you're doing it for yourself. Because when I rise, you rise. So, until today, today is the 28th. Let's see what it says in here. It's so true, a season and a reason. So, the greatest service I can offer is be willing to live through the pain I experience. There are several ways to commit suicide. Some people actually do something to end their lives. Others take pieces of their lives and pieces of themselves and tuck them away. They live only a part of a life with only a part of themselves, allowing the other parts to die off. Still, others live in a state of numbness. They shield and protect themselves from feeling anything, believing that they can avoid the onslaught of pain. All of these people are the walking dead. They try their best to act alive. They are not alive because they have yet to discover the blessings of pain. Right? To experience mental or emotional pain is actually a gift of life. At the core of your pain is an answer, possibly the very answer you have been seeking. We mistakenly believe that the path to a good life or a better life is to eliminate pain. Suicide is not the way out of pain. In fact, the most loving, alive, and self-supporting thing we can do is to embrace our pain. Often this requires a skill we have not been taught. It requires that we remain present in the midst of a painful experience. That should be epiphanies for many people out there tonight. It requires that we remain present in the midst of a painful experience, because we can only truly heal it if we feel it fully. And I say it's on my little cards that I used to give out a lot. You have to feel it fully to heal it fully. You have to feel it to heal it, because energy needs to stay in motion. And when you try to stop it, suppress it, push it away, you've lodged it in, you still have this incomplete experience that is meant to truly go through from start to finish, right? All forms of pain come to teach you, to strengthen you, to reveal some deeper understanding of your true identity. Moving through pain, you may find your true purpose. Often pain comes into your life to wake up the parts and pieces of you that are numb. How many of you have all gone out there and tried to feel things more because, well, I want to feel more. I want to feel this because, I got to feel, I want to feel, but yet you still never feel it. Addiction, it's actually numbing, but you want to feel. It's this paradox of wanting it, but also avoiding it, right? You want to feel, but you just don't want to feel that. So you're actually avoiding and choosing the polarity, the opposite, when you really need to be harnessed in on it all, not resisting one or the other. Pain or pleasure, it's all the same. And when you're present, it's just an experience. Often pain comes into your life to wake up the parts and pieces of you that are numb. Those parts are fearfully dead, doubtfully immobilized. You begin to pick up pieces and parts that you have tucked away. Staying present in the pain can often remind you that you really do want to live in a more loving, more honest, more fulfilling way. What a gift, what a blessing. Until today, you may not have been aware of the benefits of painful experiences. Just for today, open your heart to be present in your own pain. When it seems as if the pain of the memory of the pain is more than you can handle, ask for it to present you with its gift. And this is the affirmation she puts at the bottom. Today I am devoted to remaining fully present and alive to my every thought and feeling. How does that feel? I know it feels good to me, and it's quite appropriate because that's what I truly wholeheartedly believe for myself and have experienced for myself, that the more I actually embrace, no matter what it feels like, when it feels like the discomfort of a situation, it's the more that I actually feel like I come out of it, relief. I literally come out of it feeling relief as a result of me sitting with it fully. And so, for example, I know I have been going deep within myself over this past few days, and I am getting ready to not only be a part of a yoga teacher training this coming up weekend again, because every month I have a weekend with this particular class that is going through Kundalini yoga teacher training that I'm supporting. But the following weekend I'll be doing my 3 days of Beyond Addiction, That's going to be a lot of shifting. That's going to be a lot of work is on the emotional level and everything. And then not long after that, I'm going straight into winter solstice. And whenever winter solstice comes in for me, I start to notice the energies, the trepidation, do I need to be doing this again? Maybe I don't need to do this. Why am I doing this? The moment, and this has been happening every year that I go to do these things. And I know, I get excited now. I always remind myself to be excited because, see, the mind senses some changes coming in, so it gets fearful, and it starts to create these stories, and it starts to resist what's about to happen. And so the minute I recognize that, I'm like, oh, ooh, good. I'm getting that sensation. That's a good sign. It's a good sign because I know that I might be feeling a little shady, shifty, like, ooh, itchy. Oh, I'm getting pains. I don't feel so good. Do I really want to do this? This might be a little bit traumatic, but now I'm more excited because each time it happens, I'm like, get excited because the energies already start coming in before you actually change. Before something powerful is happening, you start to feel like the rumble of, I feel something exciting. And it could be both extremes. It could be exciting one day, and it could be like, oh my God, I don't know if I can handle this. Then it could go back to the excitement and back to the, I don't know, do I really want this? Like, I started feeling this a few days ago, like, do I want this? Can I handle this? And then I'm like, yeah, I got this. I asked for this. I wanted this. This is what my soul wanted to experience. I got this. It's all good and it's all perfect. So when you feel those polarities and you're swinging on your pendulum, bring it back to center. Bring it back to the breath. Remind yourself, it's about to get exciting in here. Because again, never give up before the miracle. Because right around the corner for those emotional swings, it just means that you're getting ready to come up over that mountain to a brand new day and a brand new life. The gift, the blessing, embrace it all. The more you actually accept and become present in the moment and sit with it, no matter what it feels like, it just becomes gravy, baby. So ride the gravy train. Allow yourself to flow. And allow that ease and grace and dance with it all. Hope you enjoyed this evening. I'm going to sign off now. I'm going to let you know that I love you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so appreciative that you all show up. Keep it raw, stay rad. You be you and be good to you. Embrace yourself, all parts, because that makes up your whole. And I wish you a beautiful evening. What?